Hello everyone and welcome to the final Scratch Challenge for 2016-17. This is Scratch Challenge number 10. In this Scratch Challenge we're going to bring everything together, and it's going to be really an expansion on our year 1 coding challenge number 8, but we're going to take it a lot farther this time. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a math game, and we'll probably have a couple extension activities that are going to go with this eventually as well. But for now, let's just start with the basics. So to get started here, I'm just going to change the look of my screen so that way my coding area is just a little bit bigger and easier to see, and my stage is a bit smaller. So I start with just any sprite on the screen, and I'm going to start this game with a green flag started just to begin. So let's welcome our users to our game by using a simple say and saying something like, "Welcome to the amazing math game." And we'll have that display for 2 seconds. So once we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to need to ask a question. And most questions, if you kind of think about it, go like, what is some number multiplied by some other number? So I can do this really quickly with an ask. And so sometimes you might do something like, what is 7 multiplied by 3? When you do a question like this, it's going to be always 7 being multiplied by 3. So we're going to want to use a couple things. The first thing we're going to use is we're going to use a random number that we learned about in Scratch Challenge number 8 from year number 2. And we're going to also use a join, which we learned about in Scratch Challenge number 4 from year 1. And I'm trying to provide links to those as I mention them. So the first thing we'll do is we'll look at using our join. A join is great when you want to join two things together. In this situation, we're going to have, just a sentence right here, but in reality, we want two random numbers. We want a random number here and a random number here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make our random numbers. So I'm going to make two variables. I'm going to make my first one called random number 1. There's random number 1. And then we'll make another variable. We'll call this random 2. So we have random number 1 and random number 2, and they're both right there. At the very, very start, before we even ask the question, we're going to have to set a random number. So I'm going to do this right up at the very, very top. We're going to set random number 2 and set random number 1. So you want to make sure you're using sets for both of these. So there's set random number 1 and set random number 2. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a random number. So we'll make our multiplication activity nice and easy to start. We'll multiply 1 by, we'll pick any random number between 1 and 10 to kind of keep it nice and easy. And we'll pick another random number between 1 and 10. In the other versions of this, extensions of this, I'll show you how to change these numbers to make your game more challenging. So I'm going to click on our green flag, just make sure our random numbers are showing up as different numbers. And so I'm just looking right here each time. It looks like each time we're getting random numbers. So next thing we want to do is in this, what is 7 multiplied by 3, we're going to want to get it to be these two random numbers inserted in there. So that's where a join comes in. So what we're going to do is we use a join to build our sentence. So first it says, what is, so we'll start with what is. And then after the word is, I'm going to insert random number 1. So what is random number 1? And then I want to then continue on with multiplied by. So to do that, I bring in another join. I place this join at the front. So now it's what is random number multiplied by, and then we are going to bring in another join to then add in our other random number. So I again take this join and drop it at the front of our triple join, and we are going to, what is random number multiplied by random number 2. And if you want this to look good, you can also add in a question mark. Let me just zoom out a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see this join. If you want to add in a question mark, you bring another join. And now you're doing a quadruple join. And then your sentence should read just like above. What is, and instead of leaving mine without proper punctuation. I'll move my cursor over there, so it's a question mark there. So now it's what is 7 multiplied by 3? What is random number multiplied by random number? So let's take a look at this. I now take my join I've built and I drop it in my ask. Make my screen bigger so you can see it, and I'll run the code. So I generate my two numbers, 2 and 9, there they are. What is 2 multiplied by 9? So you can see how right now what I've done is I've forgotten to include spaces. So after the word is, I need to make sure I include a space. And then before the word multiplied, I need to make sure I include a space. And then after the word by, I need to make sure I include a space. So now I'll click the green flag again. Welcome to the Amazing Math Game. My two random numbers are 2 and 7. What is 2 multiplied by 7? Perfect. So we've now asked a question using our two random numbers. The next thing we want to do is we're going to make this user's answer, and we're going to set or keep that user answer. So what we're going to do is make another variable. We're going to call this variable the user answer. It's not necessarily the right or wrong answer, it's just what the user tells us. So when they ask the question, whatever answer they give us, we're going to set user answer to the answer they give. So that's good. And the next thing we need to do is we also need to figure out what the correct answer is. So we're going to make another variable and call this one the correct answer. You're going to want to set the correct answer after you pick your two random numbers. We're going to set the correct answer to, and we are doing multiplication, so we go to operators, and we go over here and we pick the multiplication operator. And the correct answer is going to be whatever random number 1 multiplied by random number 2 is. Whatever that value is. And for this case, 7 times 2 is 14. You can see it's telling me what that is. So now I'm going to make my screen big, run my code. So my two random numbers are 8 and 5. I know that 8 times 5 makes 40, so that's the correct answer. And the user has not entered an answer yet, so let's say the user enters 13. And now you press the check mark. You can see the user answer is stored. So we now have the user answer being stored, the correct answer being stored, and the two random numbers being made. Beautiful. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull in an if-else. So what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to give two sets of feedback. One feedback is going to be if they give the right answer, and the other one is going to be if they give the wrong answer. So I'll use an equal sign for that, and we are going to compare what the correct answer is and the user answer is. So what you're going to see is the correct answer the same as the user answer. So if the correct answer is the same as the user answer, then let's do something like woohoo. You got it right. And if they get it wrong, let's give them the feedback of you got it wrong. 2 seconds. So this will give them the feedback that we're looking for. The next thing we can do is just test this really quick to make sure that it runs, and I'll just quickly run through that. So we are being asked what's 9 times 3, which is 27. So let's enter in the correct answer first. We'll click the check mark. Woohoo, I got it right. And then let's also make sure to get the wrong answer now. So let's do this. We'll play it again. Welcome to the Amazing Math Game. What is 10 multiplied by 2? Let's get a wrong answer, and let's do 12. Oops, you got it wrong. So we know that's working perfectly. So that's pretty great. The next thing we can do is, what if we want this game to kind of run and do it over and over and over again? So the first thing I'm going to do is to make this a good game is we're going to have to hide all these things, because really we don't want the user seeing all that information. So if you go to data, all these checkboxes adjust the visibility of our variables. It doesn't delete them, it just hides them. So it just adjusts if they're visible or not. So you can see I'm clicking them on and off. So that's one way to hide them. So now it's a little bit tougher. It doesn't show the answer and show the random numbers. The next thing we want to do is let's make this game keep going. And so it's going to run by itself, all by itself, without us being able to kind of run things. So what I'm going to do is let's kind of adjust this a little bit. We're going to make this game run on its own. So to do this, we're going to use a broadcast. I'm going to detach my code so I have just the when green flag clicked. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a say welcome to the Amazing Math Game first. Once we welcome people to the Amazing Math Game, you see I've reattached my code, so this is one block of code. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use a broadcast. And broadcasts are something that we covered way back in year number 1, challenge number 7, or year number 2, challenge 6/7. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the broadcast to trigger this. And it's great because by using a broadcast to trigger moving here, we can then reuse this broadcast to kind of keep the code running and repeat it over and over again. So I'm going to make this message be called math game start. Okay, so broadcast math game start when I receive math game start. So this probably seems a little silly at first, but you'll kind of hopefully see why I did this. So first thing we should do is test it. Welcome Amazing Math Game, broadcast math game start, and it runs through our code. We know it's working. What's 4 times 5? 20. Yay, I got it right. So after you get a correct answer or a wrong answer, what we're going to want to do is we're going to restart and ask another question. So what we're going to do is we're going to send ourselves back up to the top of this script. So to do this, we go to broadcast, math game start, and we're going to broadcast, math game start. The other thing we want to do is we can kind of say something like, give the user some feedback, like, woohoo, you got it right. Try another question. And this one, we'll give them different feedback. We'll say, say keep trying. So now let's run this and make sure we get to do lots and lots of questions. Welcome to the Amazing Math Game. What is 3 multiplied by 10? 30. Woohoo, I got it right. Try another question, and now it should fire me right back up to the top of my code. It picks 2 random numbers. What's 1 multiplied by 7? I'm going to add them instead. 8. Enter. Oops, I got it wrong. Keep practicing. Fire me back up to the start. So that's working really well. It's now kind of doing exactly what I want it to do. It's going to keep asking this over and over again. Let's start tracking now how many right and wrong answers we get. So we're going to make a new variable. We'll call this one correct answer. And we'll make another variable called wrong answers. And you know what, let's just make it, instead of wrong, we'll go incorrect answers. Okay. So what we're going to do is let's position these so the user can see it. I'll put them kind of just above my answer field so you can see exactly the number of correct answers and incorrect answers. Every time we get an answer right, let's change not incorrect answers, but correct answers. Oh boy, did I make a double? I made 2 of the same variable. Okay, if you do what I've done and make 2 of the same variable with a correct answer and correct answers. Oh, I see what I did. Correct answers. So let's rename that. I'm going to call it user correct answers. We'll call this rename user correct answers. Okay. There we go. User correct answers, user incorrect answers. So we'll change user correct answers by 1. And if they get it wrong, we'll change, this is like adding 1, user incorrect answers by 1. Okay, let's test this now. What is 7 multiplied by 8? We'll say that's 3. Ooh, my user incorrect answers went up by 1. Whoops, I got it wrong. Keep going. What is 7 multiplied by 7? Let's say that's 49. User correct answers, so you can see now my numbers are going up. What is 2 multiplied by 5? Let's try that answer. So you can see our game can now keep going. So the last thing we're going to do is we'll kind of give them a game over. So if you get a certain number wrong, it'll kind of give us a game over. So right in here, what we're going to do is we're going to add one last little if. You put it right after your broadcast wrong answer or broadcast. Let's see here. We want to put it in right in here. So we're going to check to see. Oops, we want that broadcast at the bottom. First, we're going to check to see the number of wrong answers. So after we've changed the number of incorrect answers, we say that now we're going to check. So the check we're going to do is we're going to see if the number of incorrect answers or the number of user incorrect answers is equal to, let's say they get 5 wrong, just for a number. So if they get 5 wrong, what we want to do is we're going to say game over. And then what you got to do is to actually end the game, you have to make it do a stop all. So there you go. That's a way that you can kind of get this to all happen. Let's make sure that this works. So press my green flag to reset it. Ooh, my number of user correct and incorrect answers didn't reset. So this is definitely a bug. Let's fix that before we go any further. We need to initialize that. So when we click the green flag, we are going to set user incorrect answers to 0 and set user correct answers to 0. So that should reset these two right here. Let's test it. Fantastic. Now our values are 0. What is 9 multiplied by 6? So let's get, let's see here. Got it wrong. Good. So keep trying. There's 1 wrong. What is 8 times 2? Let's get that one correct so we at least know that this is working. And what is, okay, we're still good. And now let's get some wrong. So I'm going to get 4 in a row wrong here. Let's go with this. So that's 1. I get this one wrong too. We're going to make sure our game over works. Our user incorrect answers are 3, 4. And I want to look here because I think this is going to be one bug. So I'm going to get this wrong and watch the order that things happen in. So I'm going to go 8. So I press enter. Whoops, I got it wrong. Keep trying. And then the game says game over. So that kind of doesn't make sense. So what we want to do is before we say the keep trying, we're going to check to see the number of answers that are right or wrong. So now the order should be change the incorrect answers by 1. Say, whoops, you got it wrong. Check to see how many there are wrong. And if there is 5, then we're going to end the game. Otherwise, we'll just keep on going. Say, keep trying for 2 seconds, broadcast, math game start, and put people back up to the start. Once you've entered in this stop all, it ends everything, and the user will not be able to continue forward in the game. What I'd like to do in some of the extension activities is give the user feedback on their wrong answer in here. The other thing I'd like to show you in the extension activities is how to change these this to a division or addition or subtraction game, and then maybe even let the user select the game type, and maybe even provide some health for the user as they go along. So I'll add those in as additional videos that can kind of be done as accessory challenges to make this more like a video game. I hope you enjoyed Scratch number 10, and it's been a great year. And I look forward to seeing your work. Take care, and look forward to coding with you next year.